Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Miriam Talks About Things. Now, it turns out that this is already episode 10, which is really weird to think about. So yeah, thanks to everyone who has been listening along for 10 episodes already, and I hope you will stick around for the future as well. So what I thought today is going to be is a little sort of wrap up or recent reads of all the things I've been reading lately. I've noticed that the last time I sat down and talked to you about what I've been reading was when I did my contemporary-a-thon wrap up. And since then I've read quite some things and I would like to talk to you about them. Once you are listening to this, I'm actually in the middle of studying for a mini exam for one of my courses. This semester we have in this course 3 little exams that at the end of the semester are counted up into one grade. So that's what I will be doing on the weekend and the 2 days after that. So not getting too much reading in. But that doesn't mean I cannot talk about what I have been reading lately. I did a thing that I usually don't really do too much with my reading, and that is rereads. It is not like a conscious decision of me. It just does not line up with my usual reading too much, but I definitely want to get better with rereading, and I've actually reread 2 things, or better 3 things. And the first thing is The Lover's Dictionary by Levithan. Now I've picked this one up right after I finished my contemporary-a-thon TBR because I was just in the mood to read contemporaries, and I think you could say that, or you can definitely say that The Lover's Dictionary is one of my favorite contemporaries, and it has been that for a while now. I have now read this book 3 times, which is quite a lot for me. The first time I read it in German, then I read the English original, and now I'm reading, of course, the English original every time I'm rereading it. What The Lover's Dictionary is about is basically what is on the title. It is the love story of 2 people, not told chronologically, but through dictionary entries. And you as a reader sort of get to puzzle together their relationship through those dictionary entries. And not only am I a sucker for unusual narratives, but I'm also a sucker for beautiful language and a good, solid, drama-filled and emotional love story. And that is what The Lover's Dictionary is. And it really, I realized it this time around, probably the most. It really is a stunning book, and I love it dearly, and it's totally one of my all-time favorite books. And I absolutely love it, and I will probably be rereading it in the future as well. Talking about loving, I've also reread Pretty Deadly. I think I did just by the way, I did a blog post about The Lover's Dictionary. So if I did, and if I remember correctly, I will be linking the blog post about The Lover's Dictionary in the description box. Okay, moving on. Talking about loving. I also reread my absolute favorite graphic novel series, and that is Pretty Deadly. I made an episode on my new series, the first one actually, where I recommended you 5 graphic novel series, and I mentioned Pretty Deadly, and after I recorded this episode, I really felt the craving to reread Pretty Deadly, so I did. I reread volume 1 and 2. It turns out that the third volume is actually coming out in March, I think, of next year in 2020. I'm very excited. The premise sounds amazing. Now, this graphic novel is very hard to explain, and I did a way better job in my recommendations video than I will probably do now. But it contains a Western setting, reapers, the daughter of death, and how that all came to be, and how it is related to a mason called Fox, who somehow, under mysterious and very sad circumstances, lost his partner. So that's all I'm going to say for now. But even with this reread, it stayed an absolute favorite, and it stayed my favorite graphic novel series, and I loved it even more the second time reading, and I really truly cannot wait for volume 3 because the premise sounds amazing. So those are my rereads. Now on to the things I've read after contemporary fun that I've read for the first time. The first book was quite a disappointment, unfortunately, and that is a German book, so be aware of some German speaking here pretty soon. And it's called Das oblatendünne Eis des halben Zweitdrittelwissens. And I think even people who understand German get really confused about this title. It's by Sarah Kuttner. I wanted to try out her work for a long time now because I follow her on Twitter and she seems to be a great person. I still think that. I have her fiction work as well because this is a collection of her columns collected. That's what a collection is. And I was quite excited to pick this up, but I really didn't like it. It's clearly dated. It's from 2005, and those essays do not really or columns stand the test of time. I felt that the humor was forced, and I didn't care about any of the topics in it, and I didn't find it particularly funny, again because the humor felt forced and the format just didn't work as I hoped it would. So yeah, I didn't like it, and we can move on now. The next thing I've read was much more successful, and that is American Royals by Katharine McGee. Now, this book is truly something else because the premise of this book is the following. If George Washington was not a president but a king, following his descendants 250 years later, following 4 women who play a role in the royal family of the Washingtons, Beatrice, who is going to be the first queen of America, her sister Samantha, who has an unfortunate crush that doesn't make the relationship with her sister any easier, Nina, who has been kind of involved with the son of the Washingtons, Jeff, and Daphne, who is the ex of Jeff, the son of the Washingtons, and really wants her place back in that royal spotlight. And let me tell you, if there's a book filled with drama, it is American Royals. If you love love triangles, well-made love triangles, drama at its peak, and royalty, you will love this book. But do go in with that. I also did a blog post on American royals and my thoughts, and also some things that I did not really like. But overall, I truly love this book. But if you want to know more thoughts on it, consider going to read the blog post. I will be linking you in the description box. Now, the last book I've read recently, talking about blog posts, I also did a blog post on, so that will also be linked in the description box, is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I was really skeptical going into this book simply because it is marketed as horror, and it's definitely horror. And I've not been reading any horror at all, which is ironic considering The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is my favorite series, but I'm truly a chicken when it comes to reading stuff that is scary. So I was surprised to see how much I really enjoyed this book, especially towards the end. And controversial opinion, or a popular opinion, I guess, I really enjoyed the ending. I did not mind the ending at all. I thought the later part of the book was definitely the strongest. When everything got put together and I was realizing what Rory Power did, it just, my mind was blown, and I explained that on my blog post. But at the beginning I thought that, well, it feels a bit incomplete, but once I've realized that this is all like part of what she is trying to make a point in, I was really, really surprised, and I cannot wait for her next book that comes out sometimes in the summer of 2020, I think. But what is Wilder Girls even about? It's about this school called Raxter School for Girls that is set on an island, and the tox, they call it a tox, which is something that alters their body, a disease you can call it, that alters their bodies in a very horrific ways. That's where the horror comes into play. It's definitely body horror, definitely explicit, so keep that in mind going in. And it's just very well made. And yeah, so basically I'm still thinking about that, how she wraps it all up. So basically there's girls at that school called Raxter School for Girls, I think, suffer from this disease called the tox that somehow alters all of their bodies and turns them very, very sick. And the plot sort of goes from there, where we follow the girls when the tox is already happening, and one of the main three characters, we have a trio, goes missing, and the other two girls decide to break the quarantine and find her missing friend and figure out what is actually going on. And what is actually going on is so brilliant that I was really, really amazed by it. Not just what is actually happening plot-wise, but what that plot symbolizes is just, it truly amazed me. And I really loved what Rory Power did with Wilder Girls and the message she was trying to put out there. So again, for more information, go check out my blog post. This just turns into self-advertisement, but I mean, I did some things about those books, so you might as well go read them. But yeah, that is all I wanted to do for today, because I thought there are quite some books here to talk about, and I wanted to catch up on what I've been reading lately. So please let me know what you've been reading lately, and I will talk to you in the next episode of Miriam Talks About Things. Thanks for listening. And again, leave a comment of what you've been reading lately and if you have read any of the books I'm talking about. For finding out what I'm reading now, you can always check in to the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will hear you then. Bye.